What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here in this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. All right, guys, we have the 5 biggest takeaways from the most recent town square that was just earlier this morning, about an hour long, with both Weirbeard and Aggie. So there's no usual recap for this or summary for this. This is just the 5 things, or at least official summary from the team. So these are just the 5 things that I thought stood out the most. And yeah, they're interesting. So let's just go ahead and dive in. So obviously the 2 big things we're waiting on, land 1.5 and tower defense. Let's knock those out with the first 2. So number 1, Farpetrod, who is the lead land developer. They talked about land a bunch, right? And I'm going to say, yeah, sure. They talked about it a bunch, and I don't think there was anything to take away from that, except for Farpetrod is going on vacation next week, which means I'm actually quite confident that they're going to get it out before he leaves on vacation. He said he's going to Alaska. So here's the thing. If the team cannot finish land by next week, then that would mean that we're not going to get it until September. But if Farpetrod is going on vacation, I would assume, he's been working hard at this. I don't think that there's any way he's going to leave and it not be done. So it sounds like they're finalizing and getting close. They did talk about Mav server access and how long that would need to be. Again, my guess, I'm recording this on the morning of the 21st. And my guess is we're still going to see it on the 29th release date. That is, there's the 22nd, which is tomorrow. Obviously, that's not happening, but I'm hoping that we see it in Mav sometime later this week. And then if it's not going to be that much time, then maybe it goes, hopefully we'll get it by the 29th. But here's the thing. If there's any bugs, if there's any other, stuff that's happening, I think we should all be prepared for land to get delayed into September. And the main reason I'm saying that is when you think about where we were for land phase 1.0, that they were trying their hardest. I mean, they were going balls to the wall again to try and get that out by the end of Q1, which was the end of March. And they missed it, right? They missed it by a week, but they said that they wanted to make sure that they put it out on Mav server and all that and gave people a chance to test it. So if for any reason they're not comfortable, I can see them doing the same thing. It's just if Farpetrod's going on vacation next week, we probably won't see it until like the 2nd week of September, which is also a holiday week. So, or at least holiday weekend, Labor Day. So I don't know. My hope, I'm optimistic that we do get to see it sometime later this week, but just in case, be prepared to not get this until maybe like mid-September. Okay, now tower defense. This one, there was not much talked about either, except for the fact that it's, the game was in a new or completely different language, so the team is currently learning that. Weirbeard did say tower defense is not months away, but there's no way that it's happening in August, which means if it's not months away, they might still be planning for a September delivery. Now, again, I think this is all contingent on the first part, right? Land. And when land goes out, I think that right now the main focus is on land, obviously. So if there's any delays on land, if we see any, weird things going on with land and it's just not going to happen, that's when I think tower defense, gets pushed. But I'm just going to say it right now. I'm still not going to expect tower defense. Tower defense is just not even on my mind anymore. I just don't even care, right? Like, to me, because we don't know, the team doesn't know what's going on in terms of like they have to learn the code and all that. So to me, I'm not going to get my hopes up on tower defense anymore. I know that tower defense is not a month away according to Weirbeard, but it's the same thing as land for me, right? Like when it's here, it'll be here and I'll get excited for it. I'm not selling my packs. I'm not doing anything crazy like that, but I'm just not even going to think about it until we get there. And like I said, my hope is that we do get it in September, but if for any reason there's any delays on the on land, then that might get pushed out. But same thing with land. I don't want the team to just throw it out there and then not know how to fix stuff, right? If they didn't get the language, the whatever it's code it's written in, and they don't know, they don't fully understand it, I don't want there to be a rush, product. As it is, we've already waited so long for this. Here's the thing. People are salty already. I mean, just go into, the the Discord. When it gets launched, I'd rather the salt not compound itself with the team putting out a subpar product, right? So if it comes out and it's just awful, people are gonna be like, wait, we waited this long and it's terrible. I'd rather just be like, well, we waited this long and we had to wait a little bit longer. So that's kind of the two main updates for where LAN 1.5 and tower defense are. Number 3, the grain market, it sounds like, is the top priority for 1.6. And we know there's grain, there's land surfing, there's probably the prefix titles that they want to implement, all for these future iterations. And Farpetrot did speak on the town square. So if you're interested, you should go and listen to him because he was on for a little bit. I will say this, one thing that I am excited about for 1.5 and beyond that I was hopeful we get in 1.0 is the iterative updates, meaning that we are going to get a 1.6 and a 1.7 and a 1.8. And granted, they may not be called that officially, but we are going to get things added in over time once land itself is up and running. Now, that had been my hope back in April that we would see some kind of iterative things with land between 1 and 1.5, right? And I was just like, oh, this is like going to be a bunch of hype in April and May leading up to the launch in June. Obviously, we didn't get any of the iterative updates, nor did we get the launch in June. And I think that's what's led to a lot of the frustration across the board. But if you're looking forward, once land 1.5 is out, that's going to be, as Farpetrot says, like there's a good baseline and a foundation built for everything else. So I think what'll be great, and I said this in a video that I posted recently about what happens after land 1.5. I'm really excited for the fact that we're going to get some kind of iterative updates. Now, I hope those aren't 2 to 3 months apart, but granted, these are not small projects by any means. For anybody excited about land surfing, I'll tell you right now, there's no game plan for land surfing. And I know, sorry, this is not me throwing shade. Like, this is, if you hear what the team is saying, they have not thought through everything. So the idea itself has not been polished and finalized. There's just a lot of cool concepts from the time that Hardport mentioned it. And it is a lot of cool concepts, and I would love to see it. But I think for people thinking that we're going to get land surfing and it's going to be here, boom, like that after 1.5, I don't think land surfing is a 1.6 thing, personally. It just sounds like there's a lot of complicated stuff, and I'm not a coder, and it still sounds like there's going to be a lot of complicated stuff in there. So the grain market being a top priority, I think is good. If we can get the prefix titles to be added in, that'll be good as well. If we get land surfing at some point, that'd be awesome. But they said 1.6 probably wouldn't come out for 4 to 6 weeks, until 4 to 6 weeks after. So that's like mid-October at this point. Again, I'm saying that land surfing, I think, is going to be a bigger project than people realize. And that to me is not an October deadline. So I'm hoping that we get the grain market and other iterative updates, over the next couple of months, and that we can get land surfing hopefully before the end of the year. But that's just kind of where my head is in terms of my own internal timeline. Okay, number 4, for all of the voucher folks out there, it sounds like the team's working on some cool voucher utility. Man, we have been waiting for this for so long, so it was actually really great to hear this. Now, the main thing that was talked about was energy, right? Being able to use vouchers to buy energy. And essentially, it's like the team is looking at wherever you can burn DEC as a place to use vouchers. And I suppose that makes sense, right? Vouchers have become the coupon token, so you get like a half discount if you use vouchers instead of DEC. But one of the complicated things with energy is that it's different at every level. So, you'd have to find a way to scale it up, because at Champion, you're spending 500 DEC per energy, and in Bronze, you're spending 1 DEC per energy. So it's like, how would vouchers work? Well, vouchers only save you half a DEC in Bronze and, 250 DEC in Champion. I don't know how that's going to work, but I like the fact that the team is taking a closer look at that and adding it in. The other areas in which I think about vouchers being used, or at least where DEC is being burned, right now, it's guild buildings, although I don't want to see them touch any of the older guild buildings if we do get some new guild buildings, which unfortunately I think there was some news there that hasn't really been mapped out either. So potions would be another one. My other guess would be maybe some things on land. Maybe, for example, you can use them to buy a power core, or you can use them to buy time crystals or something. Maybe you get like a discount if you buy a certain like bulk quantity. So that's, these are interesting things to think about. Again, vouchers are trending towards 0, as we all thought that they would. So my hope is that we do get something that will allow them to have this ongoing this ongoing utility. All right. And number 5, we'll go ahead and wrap up with this one. But Aggie was talking about, somebody asked Aggie, with the recent market dip, how are you feeling about things overall? And Aggie, to paraphrase him, said that, he thinks we're about to go parabolic. Now, here's the thing. The most recent dip that has happened, I actually agree with him in a lot of ways, because he talked about how this dip has wiped out a lot of longs. There were a lot of people probably using leverage and all these different things. And so the last time we saw something as big as this, or the last biggest time that we saw a correction like this, was back during the FTX time. And shortly following FTX, we essentially did like a 2x, right? Going from 15K up to 30K. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to sit here and go drop from 25K all the way up to 50K, but if you know me, I love following a lot of the macro stuff. I'm a big Bitcoin, Bitcoin maxi. So at the end of the day, I see the adoption happening for Bitcoin. I see it all over the place in a bunch of different countries, and institutional adoption as well. So there's a lot to be said about the fact that the next couple of months, especially leading into the halving, which is March or April of next year, leading into that could be very interesting. Now, again, I don't think we're going to be hitting new all-time highs. I don't think that's something that happens until after the halving, but that doesn't mean that people can't get excited for crypto. And again, I'm looking at 2019 and 2020 as kind of the reference point for this, right? And while 2023 hasn't been a mirror image of 2019, Bitcoin is still up on the year. So if the market starts to follow, and we may hit some more corrections along the way, but if the market starts to follow, we're going to hit into the halving at a good time next year, and then who knows how the rest of 2024 plays out. Now how that impacts Splinterlands, obviously, that's a year away, and that's why when I talk about like Land 2.0 being here, I say that I want it out by like next summer, even though the team is trying to get it out by Q1 of next year. My whole thing is if the market's going to be in like full on bull mode by next summer, then my hope is that we get 2.0 out by that time. But aside from that, just wanted to share with you that that's where Aggie's head is at. Now, we all know Aggie loves to be bullish. Like I said, I don't necessarily disagree with him when it comes to Bitcoin specifically, but we'll have to see how everything else shapes up over the time, and more specifically, how that comes in and then impacts the Splinterlands economy as well as potential player base that comes in, right? So that's all I have in this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, but otherwise I'll catch you all in the next one and see you around the game. Take care.